Hello and welcome to the Nutrition Digest podcast. We are your hosts and registered dietitians, Alicia Kugler, Tara Valenti, and Summer Merrick Williams. We are here to dish up the nutrition tea, debunk the myths, inspire, inform, and hopefully entertain. Today, we are diving into two powerhouse supplements that sit at the crossroads of performance, longevity, and recovery. We are going to talk about creatine and collagen today. Two of probably the supplements that I recommend the most often for clients. They've had viral moments for very different reasons. Creatine for its strength and brain benefits, and collagen for its promise of glowing skin and joint health. But both have more science behind them than most people realize. So today we're going to unpack what's true, what's overhyped, and how these supplements can play a role in your performance, recovery, and aging journey.
And I will say, as we're getting into the topic today, we have quite the extensive reference list. So if any of our listeners are interested in looking at the studies after the fact, they can always reach out to us either through DM on Instagram or through our email. We are more than happy to share the research with you because I know some people are interested in learning a little bit more. So without further ado, we can dive into it. We're going to start with creatine, which is the most researched sports supplement that is out there. I remember learning about creatine for the first time when I was a teenager and hearing the buzz about it. And back then it was very controversial. And now we have more evidence behind it. So I'm just going to kind of clear up what is creatine and how it works in our body. So creatine is stored in our muscle cells as phosphocreatine, and it is actually used to regenerate ATP, which is our body's energy currency for short. And it actually helps with like those intense bursts of energy and effort in exercise. It's naturally found in animal proteins, but a typical diet only has 1 or 2 grams per day, which is far below what is needed for optimal muscle saturation. Supplementation increases the phosphocreatine in it, as well as the storage of it. So 20 to 40%, and improves both physical and cognitive outputs. So when we talk about creatine, we've heard a lot of the buzz in terms of the weightlifting world, the bodybuilding world, the strength world, and even a little bit in like the sprinting world and some of those kind of like more of those explosive power athletes. But now we're seeing so much more information coming up in just like the health world in general. And we wanted to talk about like beyond the gym. How does it apply to maybe people that are not in the gym setting? We were recently at FinC in Nashville, and there was so many sessions on creatine, so many different booths talking about creatine. And we wanted to really just dive into the other benefits of it, because I think a lot of people are hearing about it and maybe not understanding how it could really benefit them. So looking at it from an aging perspective, there's a lot of emerging research which is redefining creatine's role as a role in helping people age a little more gracefully. And there's 4 main ways that we kind of look at it. So we look at it from a muscle preservation standpoint. So in older adults, supplementing creatine alongside resistance training and protein intake can really help with lean muscle mass and functional strength as they get older. And we've seen, in comparison to groups of people that were not supplementing with creatine, we see substantially more kind of like muscle growth and retention as people age. We also see a big kind of emerging evidence around bone density. So some evidence is suggesting that indirectly, potentially directly too, we don't completely understand, but it's because it's very new research, that it can really support bone health. So if you're ever curious about your bone density, get a DEXA scan, see where your bone density is at. And it can actually help with like the resistance training side, but also the bone density side, because we know that resistance training can help reinforce bone density. If we're able to lift a little bit more, that can help with bone density too. And we're going to be loading the skeleton a little bit more. Cognition and mood. So we think about ATP as energy. And so our brain is using a large amount of energy during the day, using a large amount of ATP. If creatine is helping to regenerate those molecules, a lot of studies can show that it can actually enhance your working memory, your mental fatigue, and possibly even support your mood in older adults specifically. I'd be really curious to see in the next coming years, like creatine in like Alzheimer's or dementia patients. There's not a lot of evidence yet, but I imagine that there's probably a lot more that will happen. And they have seen it in people who are really sleep deprived, that it can help with cognitive abilities as well. So all my new parents out there, all those millennials having kids right now that are feeling sleep deprived and going back to work and feeling like their brain is foggy and not functioning well. And it's also a neuroprotectant. So some evidence is showing that it reduced progression of neurodegenerative disease like Parkinson's and ALS. So in those populations, but again, this is something that the evidence is very early in the research phases, and we're now just kind of recognizing that there's so much more than just what the gym goers and like young adults can kind of benefit from it. It's a key supplement in maintaining muscle, bone health, and pairing it with so much more in terms of our health.
Yeah, and there's another big push lately and more information coming out about the role of creatine with women as well, and the importance and benefit that creatine can have for women in all ages and all stages of their lives. So creatine, as we mentioned, or as most of you know, creatine supports lean muscle growth and strength. So we normally think of it as the supplement that helps, Arnold Schwarzenegger get really big, or The Rock, but it's more than that. It helps us access a little bit of that extra power that we have when we are working out or exercising. And for us ladies, there's often, I don't know if you guys hear it too, often a big hesitancy for women to taking a supplement such as this because they don't want to bulk up. And the thing is, creatine's not going to make you bulk. You're not going to look like The Rock just because you started taking creatine, but it will help you gain a little bit of extra muscle potentially, and also help you to look and feel both strong and toned. It can help with that. Also, creatine can potentially help offset hormonal muscle and bone loss during menopause. So if we're able to access that little bit extra in our tank, that may help us increase our muscle mass and therefore kind of supplement the extra muscle that we're losing during perimenopause and menopause years. Also, it can improve cognitive resilience during fatigue and stress, just like Alicia mentioned. And again, not saying that doesn't happen to men, but it seems to happen more to women when we are the one having to, say, care for a new baby or do multiple job and baby and parenting and trying to exercise and all this stuff. It can seem to hit women a little bit more, especially than when you throw on the menopause and perimenopause years of our lives. And just a reminder is that creatine is often recommended as safe, non-hormonal option for women during and after menopause. But one thing that you do want to make sure is you want to make sure to double check with your doctor or your registered dietitian before adding any supplements to your routine. So just like anything, just check in with your dietitian, check in with your doctor, make sure it's good for where you're at now. But typically creatine is one of the safest supplements out there, and it really has little to no negative side effect, at least that I've seen in research so far.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was going to add, I know a big reason why we're talking about women and creatine is I think, especially when the first research came out about creatine in the sports nutrition world in general, it was a lot of very male focused research. And we're seeing a little bit more women representation in research so that we can see kind of the benefits for a woman versus a man, because there is differences there in terms of how we would respond.
Yep. And there is some very popular people on social media who do talk about women and the importance of gaining strength and muscle as we are getting older. And it's totally accurate. But one thing I did really like that I've heard mentioned many times by a few certain people is that women are not men in smaller bodies. Women are so different than men. So we're not going to bulk in the same way as men, but we need these supplements in different ways than men, but they are super important to us as well. And even though the research originally for most supplementation is done on men in the history, with the understanding or expectation that, again, we just need it in smaller doses. Now we're learning more. Science is testing on women more. We are taking women into the equation. So super important to, do a little research, and pretty exciting that we're finally, having a seat at the table.
So for the men out there that are listening, get your wives, get your girlfriends, get your friends, get your mother, get your sisters, whoever you have that's a female in your life, get them to consider taking creatine. That's basically what we're saying.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, This is one of the supplements that I recommend most often to the people that I work with. I think part of it is just because of the type of clients that we work with, who are mostly trying to increase muscle mass and optimize body composition, or they're focused on performance. But the benefits are just pretty widespread with creatine. And not only is it one of the most well-studied performance enhancing supplements in the sports world, but we're realizing that there are so many other benefits now as well. So it's pretty cool and pretty interesting. And I love that it's not just a supplement for dudes anymore. I remember my dad, when I first heard about creatine, it was because my dad was adding it to his protein shakes like back in the 90s. And I just thought that that was something for men who wanted to get big muscles. And now here I am taking creatine every day. So it's, I don't know, kind of interesting, the shift that has occurred.
I take it every day as well. What about you, Alicia?
When we talk about the myths, I'll tell you, I can't take it because I only have one kidney. So it's not. So enough. I spoke to my doctor about it and they're like, it's not safe because you only have one kidney. So people have kidney disease and kidney issues. Not that healthy people we have to concern about it. And we'll talk about that in a moment.
Okay. Yeah. But me and Summer, we take it every day. Or at least I try to take it every day. There's some days where I skip it, but for the most part, every day. So let's talk about how to take it. If you are interested in taking creatine, or if you're going to start implementing it into your routine after you double check with a registered dietitian or your doctor, or decide that it's the right approach for you, generally the dose that is recommended to get the adaptations or the response that we are aiming for is between 3 and 5 grams per day. They used to say that you had to do a loading phase of creatine in the beginning, where you take more than that each day and kind of load up over time. That's been determined that it's not really necessary to do that. You can just start taking your 3 to 5 grams and just make sure that you stay consistent with it. And that's another thing too. People ask me all the time, do I have to take it right before I work out or right after I work out, or what's the timing? Timing doesn't really matter that much with creatine. It's more about taking it each day and just being consistent. So that's kind of the key with that. Just make sure you add it into your routine so that you remember to take it on a daily basis. And if you are taking it like pre-workout, post-workout, early in the morning, late at night, like doesn't really matter. It's just consistency that's key here. Just like your workouts, right? Consistency is key. You do want to make sure that you're sticking to creatine monohydrate. That's the type of creatine that you'll probably see most places. I rarely see anything else on the shelves, but just double check that you're getting creatine monohydrate. That's the type that you want to be taking. And it's also important to not forget hydration when you're taking creatine. So hydration is important for proper uptake and reducing muscle cramping when you are taking creatine. And nobody wants to be at the gym pushing through a set and feeling really good and feeling super strong because you've got all this ATP and then you have a muscle cramp. That would be a bummer. So make sure you hydrate just like you always do. Pay a little closer attention to hydration if you're new to taking creatine. And then most people kind of get into a good routine with it and don't need to be hyper focused on it anymore. There are some common myths that Alicia alluded to earlier. One of them is that creatine causes bloating and weight gain. There's so much concern over this, especially as women are starting to take creatine. That's one of the things they ask the most often, like, oh, is it going to make me feel bloated or is it going to make me gain weight? There's only mild intracellular water retention, so no fat gain. Creatine is not going to make you increase body fat. Sometimes people will retain a little bit of water, mostly in the beginning when they first start taking creatine. I personally have been taking creatine for a couple of years now. Sometimes I go off of it for a period just because life happens, and then I'll start taking it again. And I honestly don't notice any difference. I weigh myself regularly. I really don't notice any difference on the scale either. Not anything more than a normal day-to-day fluctuation. That's my personal experience. So yeah, you might retain a teeny bit of water, but it's not going to be anything that's like catastrophic or like going to make you, I don't know, cry or something. There's also a myth that creatine is bad for your kidneys. Generally speaking, this is not the case for your average healthy adult. So If you are getting your labs checked regularly, they're going to check your kidney function. If you have labs that are off, if your kidneys are not functioning like they normally should, if you only have one kidney like Alicia, these are great things to check in with your doctor about and just ask like, hey, is this something that would be safe for me to take, or should I hold off and not be taking creatine in my current condition? And your doctor will give you that answer. But generally, for people who have two optimally functioning kidneys, you should be fine. And then finally, the other myth is that it's only for men, which obviously, as you probably could guess, is completely false. Plenty of women take creatine, and women can most definitely benefit from creatine, which is why 2 out of 3 of us take it every day.
I wanted to ask a question to both of you, because this is something that I've seen with some of my clients. They come in, they've been taking creatine for a while, they go get their labs done, and their creatinine is high or slightly elevated, or it's higher than it's previously been. Have either of you guys had that?
I actually haven't.
Okay. It's a common occurrence that I see with my clients. A lot of them, they go to the gym, they take their creatine supplement, and then they'll go get their labs done right away. And so it's normal for your creatinine to be slightly elevated if you just worked out really hard and you have higher levels of muscle protein breakdown. So just make sure that if you're going to get your labs done and you are supplementing with creatine or even protein powder on a regular basis, don't go get your blood work done right after working out. Try to allow at least 24 to 48 hours before going to get your labs done. I will say that out there, I've actually seen quite a few clients in that situation, and their family doctor freaks out and it's like, you have to stop taking all your supplements and everything. And I'm like, well, really? No, we're just not getting the optimal time that you're getting your blood work done. So we're switching gears a little bit, moving on from creatine into collagen, which is our other supplement for today. And there's a lot of things that I think a lot of us have heard in the media around collagen, from skin to recovery to digestion. So I'm going to kind of explain a little bit about what collagen is and why it matters. So similar to creatine, there's quite a big body of evidence around collagen. And I think all 3 of us have made recommendations at some point or another to a client. So collagen is the most abundant protein in the human body. It provides structure to your skin, your bones, your tendons, your ligaments, your gut lining. And so supplemental collagen is hydrolyzed into peptides, so small amino acids, that are absorbed and can signal your body to produce more collagen where it's needed. So if you think about it, we're supplementing it and it's signaling to our body to be like, hey, start producing more of this. And we also want to be thinking about vitamin C when we're thinking about collagen, because it is actually a cofactor for collagen synthesis. So if you don't have enough of vitamin C coming in, so say, for example, if you have scurvy, which we shouldn't be seeing in North America, especially in California with the abundance of citrus fruit and fruits and vegetables, yeah, you should be fine for collagen synthesis. But if you're someone that's struggling with low vitamin C,
if you're a pirate,
consider supplement.
If you're on a ship at sea for a very long time
in the 1600s,
yeah, and there's no vitamin C, no citrus fruit.
Okay,
you may get scurvy.
I have seen scurvy. I've seen one case of scurvy in my career in a hospital setting. Somebody was just supplementing with a multivitamin that didn't have vitamin C in it, and they weren't eating any fruit.
That's wild.
I have never in my life known anybody or met anybody in my practice who's had scurvy.
It was just once in my life.
Can you imagine writing that diagnosis down in their chart? That must have just been and can you imagine telling the person, hey, so
you have a pirate's disease.
Yeah.
Do you also have a peg leg and a hook for a hand?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's hilarious. So I think the thing that people get really confused with collagen in the exercise world is they talk about collagen. In some places, they talk about collagen protein similar to whey protein and soy protein, but it's different. It's not going to help in the same way of building muscle, but it is still very important because it helps with the connective tissue and allows you to keep training really hard. So there's quite a few studies that show that taking 10 to 15 grams of collagen peptide 30 to 60 minutes before exercise, especially when combined with a food source of vitamin C, so having like a little shake that has like some collagen and maybe like some berries or citrus or something in it, or having a little clementine with your collagen can increase collagen synthesis in tendons and ligaments, especially when there's force applied from like resistance training. And then regular use has been linked to reduced pain and faster recovery from joints, injuries, and tendinopathies. So especially if you're someone that you're getting injured a lot from training, you're finding you're someone that's more like injury prone, like this could be something definitely worthwhile to supplement. And for some individuals, you might actually carry a specific gene, which can make collagen synthesis a little bit harder for your body. So there is testing that you can do for that. And this can help show you, like, are you someone that maybe you need to supplement collagen a little bit more frequently if you are someone that's also training more regularly, so you have a decreased risk of injury. And so really beneficial for runners, for people who are lifting, for people who are getting older and are trying to work out still and stay active, dealing with kind of like normal wear and tears. Like unfortunately, we all are getting older. We're not in our 20s anymore. So definitely something worthwhile to consider.
Definitely. And also, speaking of that with the wear and tear, thinking of the benefits of collagen with joint health. So a lot of benefits there by ingesting collagen, taking some collagen supplementation. And if we think of what collagen actually is, it's a part of an animal that's the connective tissue. So if you think of what it is, it can help us with our cartilage. It can help us support the cartilage integrity. It can help us reduce stiffness in those with osteoarthritis, also with injury. If you wake up in the morning with your creaky knees, creaky ankles, creaky back, creaky elbow, creaky neck. That may be all me.
I was going to say, this sounds familiar.
Yeah,
I feel like these are things that I hear from you on a regular basis.
Good thing I'm taking collagen. So that can really help out with that. It can also help reduce inflammation in joint tissues and improve mobility. Also, when paired with resistance training, collagen supplementation can enhance tendon resilience and overall joint comfort, especially in older adults or athletes in high impact sports. So even if you're not, of a certain age, but you've done a lot of sport like myself, I am in my 40s. I performed for a long time, and I have a lot of joint issues now. I've had knee surgery, shoulder pain, issues with my ankles, as I just mentioned, my entire list. So collagen can really, really help with that and help with reducing some of that inflammation and also repair the cartilage in the body.
Mm-hmm. I was also going to add to Summer. Sorry to cut you off. I think a lot of times you hear a lot about older adults taking glucosamine for joint health and for arthritis and things like that. And it's really interesting because a lot of them actually take collagen. And looking at the body of research, the evidence on glucosamine is so mixed. It's not actually consistently showing that there's improvements. For some individuals, it does help. And I think for other individuals, a little bit of placebo effect. But there's consistent evidence that collagen could actually help them so much more with their joints and with arthritis and osteoarthritis.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I remember back in the day, really all you would hear is glucosamine, but I didn't know any of the studies. It just was in this drink, joint juice. And, people would take it all the time. I never did, because at that time I didn't have any injuries or issues, but I never understood how it worked. But with all this information and science backing collagen, I really would suggest trying at least supplementing with collagen, and then, maybe trying the glucosamine if that works for you and seeing if it adds any more benefit.
We used to give glucosamine and chondroitin
yes,
to my dogs because they were lab mixes and they have hip issues,
arthritis,
and like lower back issues and stuff, and they were getting old and stiff and stuff, and so we used to give that to them. And I remember it was funny because my dad and my dogs were taking the same supplement.
I have a friend who takes the same trazodone pills as her dogs. But,
okay, well,
that's whatever.
To each your own.
Exactly. Why not double use? Save some money.
Just one for them, one for me.
Exactly. Everybody sleeps well.
Everybody's mellow.
Everybody's chill. So another benefit of collagen can be found in digestion. The amino acids in collagen, such as glycine, glutamine, and proline, are crucial for maintaining a healthy gut lining. It may also play a role in supporting the gut barrier function and helping to reduce intestinal permeability. So that's like the leaky gut that you hear about. Also, early evidence suggests that it may aid in digestive repair for those with like IBS, IBD, or autoimmune gut issues by supporting that mucosal lining and helping it heal. Also, collagen protein digests slowly, which provides a more satiated feeling and a sustained release of amino acids. So that can help stabilize the blood sugar and your appetite between meals. So it can help you feel fuller longer because it takes longer to digest. So think of collagen as a recovery insurance for your joints, your gut, connective tissue, especially important as we age or ramp up training volume.
So I try my best to regularly take collagen, and I have noticed that sometimes there's a little bit of a taste, and definitely there's a little bit of a smell to collagen. It can be a little bit gross. I've found that some brands are less gross than other brands, and so that's something that has been helpful for me just in getting it down. You can take it in pill form nowadays. But you have to take quite a few.
I didn't know that.
But my trick for eating collagen and my creatine is usually just putting it in a protein shake. I'll make a smoothie with it because it kind of hides that flavor, and I find that to be really helpful in actually getting it down the hatch. I used to put it in my oatmeal. I add it to Greek yogurt sometimes, only a small amount though, because I'm like really sensitive to that taste. Some people don't have any issues with the flavor at all, and they're like totally fine with it. Now they have flavored little single serve pouches that you can add into all kinds of things. I think Summer, you put it in your coffee, right?
I sure do.
I
put as many supplements as I can in my coffee, along with my creamer. Get it in.
Yeah. I have one client who puts unflavored collagen into her orange juice before going to the gym. And she also adds chia seeds to that. And she loves it. And it's like her perfect pre-workout little snacky snack.
Yeah, like that would work great with the vitamin C and the collagen together. That's the perfect combo.
Does she drink it really fast?
I don't know. I haven't watched her.
Because I just worry about, my thing about chia seeds is I like them if they're in a smoothie, but you have to take them in fast so they don't get jelly and like.
But some people like that because it's like tapioca and bubble tea, right?
See, I like tapioca, but I'm not a bubble tea girl.
I like it when I like find a random chia seed in my mouth and I like can crunch on it and it's like a little treat later. You're like,
it's concerning.
I like the texture.
Okay. See, I just don't like the gooey checks. The like kind of reminds me of aspic.
Of what?
That's like jellied, like cold jellied meats and stuff.
Ooh. No thanks.
Aspic.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I digress.
Anyway, I wanted to talk about ways to consume collagen because that's a question I get asked about a lot. I also get asked, I get a surprised face sometimes when I explain to people that collagen is protein. You're getting a ton of protein when you're consuming collagen powder because their personal trainer or someone else in their life has told them not to use it as a protein powder. Well, it depends what you're using it for, right? So yes, you are getting literally like pure protein from consuming collagen. Is it a complete protein? Are you getting all of the amino acids that you need, especially if your focus is building muscle mass? Not necessarily. And that's where sometimes people are like, oh yeah, collagen's worthless. Well, if we're comparing collagen to whey protein and the goal is building muscle mass, then yeah, obviously you're going to want to choose a whey protein over a collagen. But that doesn't mean collagen is worthless and you shouldn't consume it. And it also doesn't mean that you're not getting protein from collagen. One of the things that I will usually recommend people do to increase their daily protein intake is just add collagen to stuff. It's a great way to increase your total overall protein intake. And if you're eating foods that come from animal sources, you're getting all of your amino acids. Like, it's fine. You're not going to be deficient in all of the amino acids. It's so silly. Anyway, I will get off my soapbox and let's take it away. So here are your final key takeaways for today's webinar, all about creatine and collagen. So creatine is obviously great for building strength. It's great for muscle preservation, brain and bone support, whereas collagen helps to support your joints, your tendons. It can help to support gut health and digestion. And it's really just a foundation for staying active and pain-free. Both supplements become more relevant with age, not less relevant with age. So as you get up in the years, it might be more important to be considering taking these things on a regular basis. They target different systems, but they do complement each other beautifully, which is why we wanted to talk about both of them in the same episode today. Remember to check with a registered dietitian or a doctor before you take any new supplement. As always, we have to say that. For creatine, as I mentioned before, you're aiming for 3 to 5 grams per day, anytime with food or post-workout. With collagen, you're aiming for 10 to 15 grams a day, ideally with vitamin C and before or after training to get those connective tissue benefits that it's known for. If you were inspired by this episode to rethink your supplement stack, share it with a training partner or a friend, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss your weekly dose of the Nutrition Digest podcast.